te vengo a cantar mi copla. Ando llena de ilusiones y quiero besar tu boca. Quiero decirte cositas que traigo dentro del alma, pero como son bonitas, quiero decirlas con calma. Yo no sé si vengas tú, yo no sé si vaya yo, pero has de sentir mis besos y yo he de sentir los tuyos. Hemos de quedarnos presos a la luz de los cocuyos. Te quiero mirar bonita, sin penas y sin orgullos, y quiero echarme en tus brazos a la luz de los cocuyos. ¿Cuántas noches de tu vida habrás pasado conmigo, contando las estrellitas y solo Dios te testigo? Siempre con la cara al cielo, cobijados por la luna, contando las estrellitas, decirles una por una. Yo no sé si vengas tú, yo no sé si vaya yo, pero has de sentir mis besos y yo he de sentir los tuyos. Hemos de quedarnos presos a la luz de los cocuyos. Te quiero mirar bonita, sin penas y sin orgullos, y quiero echarme en tus brazos a la luz de los cocuyos. De los cocuyos.
Hello, and welcome to your 2021 Mariachi Spectacular de Albuquerque virtual Armonia Clinic. My name is Adolfo Estrada, and I will be your guitar instructor today. I have the distinct honor of teaching alongside my colleagues, which you now have the opportunity to meet.
Hi everyone, my name is Santiago Espinosa, and I'll be your vihuela instructor.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Garcia, and I'll be your guitarron instructor today.
Hi, my name is Adrian Perez, and I will be the harp instructor.
The selection we have prepared for you today is titled A la Luz de los Cocuyos. Jose Alfredo Jimenez is the author of this song, and Rigoberto Alfaro arranged the version we're going to learn today. The song is composed in the style of huapango and played in the key of C major. A huapango is a musical tradition borrowed into the mariachi from the Huasteca, which is a cultural and geographic region that covers the central Gulf Coast and parts of northeastern Mexico. The word huapango roughly translates as to dance atop a wooden platform. Essentially, a huapango is music to be danced to. Characteristics of the mariachi playing a huapango contain alternations between ternary and binary rhythms, like so. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We also employ apagones and abanico strums. Let's begin.
A la Luz de los Cocuyos is an arrangement, and this particular version is in the key of C. In terms of scale form, we will be employing C natural, D natural, E natural, F natural, G natural, A natural, B natural, and C natural. Right? In terms of chords, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C major. So in terms of harmonia, we will be employing those chords with some slight deviations that may take us to a modulated key, to the key of F briefly, and then jumping back to the key of C. Talking about time signature, we are in the time signature of 3/4, and essentially what will be happening that's characteristic of a huapango is it's a 3/4, 6/8 alternating measure. So you will have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'll notice that variation amongst the guitarrón parts and the rhythm parts. And we will go through that as we proceed with our class here. In terms of mapping, this particular arrangement has fairly simple mapping. So what will happen is we will start at the beginning of the song. If you notice, there is a quarter pickup measure. Then we jump through, start playing all the way through rehearsal mark 1, which is the one with the box around it. Rehearsal mark 2, play through that. Rehearsal mark 3, play to rehearsal mark 4, 5, and at measure 58, if you notice, there is the back end of a repeat, the first ending. So from there, we'll jump back up to measure 1, start the song again, play through play through up to rehearsal mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, essentially what we did the first time around. On measure 56, there's a double bar line, which at that point we will jump to ending number 2, which is measure 59. And at that point, we just play all the way through to the end, where you will notice the end bar line on measure 65, 67, 68. And that's the end of the song.
Okay. And continuing on for the guitarrón, A la Luz de los Cocuyos is in the key of C. So I'll demonstrate the C major scale for guitarrón. You have C, D, E, F natural, G, A, B, and then C natural. Essentially in this piece you'll end up playing a B flat, so it's very important to recognize when you have B natural, a couple ways. B natural, and if you shift down on the fingerboard, use your first finger, this is your B flat. B natural, B flat. And for the right hand technique, it's always important, if you want to think of an orange or a ball, you're squeezing it, trying to get the strings leveled out when you pull. And as you release the strings, it's always important, think of your forearm as a lever and just bring it straight up towards your shoulder. Once again, B natural, B flat. B natural with your middle finger and thumb, index finger, B flat. No, for Santiago?
All right. So I'm going to get started here with the chords that we're going to be using in this song. So there's a few chords that we're going to be using, and I'm going to demonstrate how they sound on the vihuela, so you could get an idea of where to put your fingers, and I'll explain a little bit about how our fingers should be reacting to the strings when we press on our left hand. So the first chord we have here, we're in the key of C, so we have C. So that's... So I want to emphasize, before I move on to the other chords, we want to hear every string nice and clear. So that when you hear the complete chord, we don't want to press kind of soft and have some strings muted. So starting with C, then we have F. So there's two ways you could do it on the vihuela. You could play F with all closed strings, or you could leave the A string open. And that depends all on your personal taste, what you prefer. The next chord is D minor 7. And we have G. We have, what else? B flat 7. Okay. Then we have G7. I skipped that one. So we have our G here, which is pinky, or you could use your ring finger. All preference here. And then G7. So there's a few ways to play the G7. You could use your thumb and your pointer finger, or you could use your middle finger and your pointer finger, whatever's most comfortable to you. Then we have A minor 7. And we have G minor 7. that. C7. So C7, we have slightly different fingering than what you would see on a guitar. Usually guitar, we'd have our pinky down. The voicing sounds different. So vihuela, we try to stick with this one for C7. Now we have D7. It's like a triangle with our fingers. And E minor 7. So we're just playing last string here on the second fret. And you could use your thumb, you could use your middle finger, whatever you like. I prefer to use chords. I plan them in a certain way where I'm going to have to move, use the least amount of work to shift to different chords. So my fingering will be based on that. So try to make changing chords as simple as possible so you could be efficient. We don't want to have awkward changes. So you can experiment with these different ways of playing like G and F and all that to suit you. Moving on, right hand technique. So the right hand is your voice when you're a vihuela player or guitar player. That's what's going to interpret the sound of your chords. So for vihuela, we're using all our fingers. As you can tell, I use a finger pick here. Some people prefer not to, so that's your choice. I use it because I play a lot, and so all the wear and tear on your hands, you know, this thing really comes in handy. And so we're going to be using all our fingers. So when we have down strums, we want to use all our fingers, giving the most emphasis to our first finger, and in order we're giving emphasis to all the rest. But these two fingers mainly carry a lot of the weight. So I'm going to use a G chord just to strum down. So we want to use our wrist. We want to be nice and loose, relaxed. We don't want to have any tension. As relaxed as you can be. And then for up strums, we use our thumb. We don't use any other fingers coming up or nothing like that. So just our thumb. So I like to go down, down, up, just to practice getting my wrist loose and making sure that my up strums can have just as much power as my downs. That's very important. We want to make sure our ups we develop those to be strong. So just a little warm-up exercise I like to do for you guys at home. You could do this. Just getting your sound out. You can start slowly and work your way fast and go back slow. So you could do a speed that it still sounds clear, and so whatever works for you, work at your own pace. So that's a basic right hand technique for vihuela. In this song we're also going to be using apagón, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more as we continue on.
Okay. Moving on to guitar left hand, I'm going to go briefly through the chords so you can hear what they sound like, and then we'll talk a little bit about right hand technique. So the first chord I'm going to play is C major, F major, D minor 7, G major, G7, A minor 7, C major 7, B flat 7, G minor 7, C7, D7, E minor 7, with just one finger. So I'll provide a chord sheet with fingerings, and when you look at that chord sheet and you see the diagram, you're going to see numbers, not just a circle where the note goes on what string on what fret. You're going to see either numbers 1, 2, 3, or 4. So if you see something like, for example, C major, you're going to see a number 3 here, a number 4, a number 2. You won't see any finger or anything here, no circles. Here you'll see a 1. So you know that you're using the exact fingering that's suggested There's always alterations and deviations, like Santiago had said. For guitar, it's a little bit more difficult to mediate and negotiate those things because the goal is to play all 6 strings, which brings me to the right hand. Okay, so for the right hand, I use a flat pick, equilateral triangle. I'm all shaky. An equilateral triangle. Okay, so that means it's even on all 3 sides. No teardrop shape or anything like that. They're usually pretty thick, around 1 millimeter thickness, just as a basis to start off with. If you don't use a pick, which I've seen a lot of guitar players do, then you'll be employing more of a vihuela technique, which means index finger down, thumb up, like Santiago had explained previously. When we come to the pick for the guitar, we really don't have that luxury because we're always holding the pick between our thumb and our index finger. Think of the pick as an extension right in between your index and your thumb. So it's like a nail in between your nails, kind of. And a good exercise that I like to do to warm up is that I'll hold the guitar in a position and place my fingers on the inside strings. So you only hear the outside strings, the 6th and the 1st, the E's. So it should sound like this. E, then lightly place your index finger down. Beautiful. So all together, when you do strum, the goal is to strum all 6 strings at once. So you hear both the bass and the treble, unison. So here, I'll play something top heavy, so it'll be in the higher register. Right? Now the bottom. The goal is to aim at both and make both of them sound even for every strum. And you can do the same warm-up that Santiago gave us for vihuelas. Slow, down, up, down, up, down, up. Gradually get faster to a comfortable pace, and then slowly work back down. Make sure that you hear both strings activating at the same time, so we don't hear, or on the up strum. You want them to sound like this, on both a down and an up strum. Okay, that's the goal. You obviously take time to get from one to the other. No matter how fast you go, you'll always hit one before, but the illusion that you're hitting them both at the same time is practical. So let's talk about the basic rhythm that we're gonna modify for the beginners, which is composed of an apagón and then 2 down strums. And that's the only unit we're gonna use, and we're gonna keep repeating that throughout the whole song. So an apagón translates as a blackout, like an electric grid blackout. And what it means sonically, or the implication sonically, is that we have resonance within our guitars, a tone, a timbre, a chord, some foundational harmony, and then we black out. But, like Santiago was mentioning, what happens before a blackout?
You hear an explosion or something, right?
You hear an explosion, something overrides, exactly. So in mariachi performance, when we're doing apagones, for this piece, we're just gonna show you the down apagón. So we'll play, literally blackout. You still play all 6 strings, and then your hand rests on top of the strings at the same time you're strumming. Okay? The sound comes from an active strum, not from pressing down. If you hear this, I'm just pushing the strings into the top. It doesn't really sound like an apagón. What sounds like an apagón is when you strum fiercely into the strings. That's what makes it louder. And your hand rests there. Let's try it with just the vihuela, so we'll go. Good thing to practice. So if you're doing this and you hear extraneous sounds, okay, so it's like target practice. Okay, let's play through the rhythm. It's a down strum, a down apagón, and then 2 down strums. So we'll count on C major. Stop, down, down, stop, down, down. Of those units equal 1 measure. Stop, down, down, stop, down, down, next one, down, down, stop, down, down, next one. Can you go ahead and illustrate that? We're starting at measure 1, 2, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, measure 1. Okay, so I'll count you off 1 measure, and then you can start here on measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll count measures together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop, down, down. Measure 6, sorry. Just with a...
Measure 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop, down, down, stop. Next measure. Stop, down, down, stop. Next measure. Stop, down, down. So in lieu of anything, even if you don't stop playing to the song, when you have a full rhythm in a measure, you can just always rely on that. Okay? The other ones that the other strums or the other sections of the music that have golpes, we really can't play over those in the same way, just when you have active parts. So when you have a full measure engaged with one of the basic fundamental rhythms of the huapango, go ahead and use that as a guide for learning how to sight read and following along and counting as you're playing. And that concludes the beginner portion of this. Nothing.
Okay. So to continue with the intermediate portion, more a little bit on the technique. Of course, your right hand needs to be aligned with your left hand. Both strings at the same time. One string can't be pulled more than the other. Everything has to be so level. And to continue on the C major scale, what you can do to help you out is just each note, just to help with the tuning a little bit. G, there's two options. I myself play G with just the thumb, but there's also an option with your fourth finger or the pinky. Whatever is your preference, and then of course A, B major, B flat, excuse me, and then C. So having the strings level and the tuning is really important in this song. Just to give a quick example, can we begin at the beginning and just stop on section 1, please?
Yeah, sure. It's way soft,
So-
so you'll highlight. Okay.
So what we're gonna demonstrate is counting. Counting in this piece is very important. If you see, we have measure 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a measure of rest, and again on measure 8, measure 12. So when you have these measures of rest, it's very important to just keep counting to make sure that you land in the certain spot in the next measure. So let's begin at the beginning.
I'll give us one measure,
Okay.
okay? Or I'll count 2 and then
Okay.
sing the melody, right? Here we go. 1, 2, da 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 da. 3, 1, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2, 3. Two, 3, 1, 2, 3.
And that's it.
One thing I've heard that goes with what he's saying is play the rests. We're not literally playing it, but in your mind, you're still playing the rest. So that's one thing to kind of think about going along with what he was talking about.
Yeah. Definitely, some of these arrangements are really intricately written, and it gets difficult to align everything if we're guessing or unsure. So I know when we'll do the playthrough, I'll be counting out loud obnoxiously, just trying to help everyone, guide everyone to where we are in the measure. Do you want to continue? Or?
Yeah, so just a little bit, I myself, I have a tendency to also want to interpret, not just as a guitarron player, but also seems that I'm also singing the song. And it's very important for guitarroneros to be aware of using the words as their guide also. Once again, let's demonstrate one more time from the beginning and we'll continue to number 2 and I'll use the words for the entrances.
Okay, so we'll continue just from the beginning and
Just
play
the
through?
beginning.
Okay.
And then
okay.
we'll stop at section 2.
Oh, stop at section 2? All right, here we go. 1, 2, daga, daga, daga. 3, 1, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2, 3.
Ay, amor de mí, so what? And then just to be cautious of where the words are for the singer, it's always important because not only is the singer singing, but you also want to feel as a guitarronero that you're also singing with her, where the entrances are, where to stop in the piece. Just a little tip.
All right. I talked about the apagon where I left off. But I didn't show exactly where I hit using my hand and all that, so I want to go over that real quick. So on the vihuela, it's basically a down strum, and I don't know if you'll be able to see, I hope you can. But there's like a little bone right here that you feel, and then your palm in here. So these two like little points, you use those to hit and block the strings. So you want to practice that, and you'll start to develop some callus. You know, it might hurt a little bit at first, but if it hurts, you're probably doing it right then. So we have that up. So get used to that, and then you're ready to go.
That's good. Yeah, same thing applies to guitar. Obviously, we can't spread our hand out and do all those things, but the same point of contacts really apply. We're going to go from the thumb. I tend to use here the end of the thumbnail all the way through, almost down to the wrist. So it just depends on how active I'm playing. If I need a really heavy apagon. Santiago, why don't you help me demonstrate the basic rudiments of the huapango rhythm for them, as written here? And so we'll just start there. It's kind of like a technical. So we're starting here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for all of you following along, and we're going to play it really, really slow, okay? And then we're going to break it down. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Okay, good. So we really have a bunch of little micro rhythms making up that long rhythm. And the great thing is once you learn this pattern, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it because it's just going to keep repeating through the entire piece. And I'm glad I have Santiago here to help me. So Santiago, we talked about the apagon, so we'll start with an apagon in a downward direction. And then we have what's called a redoble. So a redoble is a combination of down, up, down strums in quick succession. So you can think stop, redoble, 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 redoble on the vihuela. Nice. Good.
One thing too, before we move on,
Go.
how he just said redoble, le is going to be a note of the guitarrón. So if you play re,
I'll count us off. 1, 2, 3.
so he's playing on, actually before that, but he's landing on the beat with us. Bum, 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 bum. So we want to make sure as a section we're lined up. Let's do that one more time.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
So we want to be tight, always thinking of that stuff.
Good. The second half of the measure has another downward apagon. And this time it's going to be like the beginner rhythm that we used. So if you're doing the beginning strums, that's great. Practice it diligently because it's never going away. It's one of the basic rudiments for the huapango. So, and that rudiment again, just for all of us, is downward apagon, down strum, up strum. And you can count stop, redoble, stop, down, up. Let's try that at home. Let's try to say it. 1, 2, 3, stop, redoble, stop, down, up. Stop, redoble, stop, down, up. 2, 3, stop, redoble, stop, down, up. Stop, redoble, stop, down, up. Let's combine that measure. Guitarrón, would you like to join us? Harp, please. 1, 2, 3. Good. The second half of the measure, we're going to do the same sounding rhythm as the beginners again, but with a different strum direction. And this is why it's considered intermediate level, I would say, is that you do stop, up, down, up. That's the basic pattern there. Up, down, down, up. Up, down, down, up. Up, down, down, up. Okay. And let's play both of those measures together with everyone in tandem, okay? Just D minor 7, just as written, ready? 1, 2, 3. Down, up, down, down, up. Yeah, let's keep cycling through it. So if you can practice along with this, we're going to take some time to just keep vamping on this or keep duplicating it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Down, up, down, down, up. Down, up, down, down, up. Up, down. Okay. Yeah, it gets a little monotonous. So it's confusing for us. Definitely take some time with it on your own. Let's play it up to tempo, okay? Yeah, so here we go. Is this good, guys? Okay, well, that was off. Okay, here we go. One measure. 1, 2, 3. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Nice. And so you can practice that over and over. It's going to come in really handy. And I think that's what we can do now for that. Between intermediate and advanced, there's not going to be too much difference. I think intermediates, if they take their time at a slower tempo, can get this in their fingers, in their hands. And so now we're going to talk a little bit more about the advanced concepts, which lead more into interpretation, dynamics, and things of that nature.
Okay. So for the advanced portion, just for example, on section 2, we have a lot of the syncopated, at least for myself and Asian, we have a lot of the syncopated on section 2. And then we have the B flat, C, C. Can we demonstrate?
Yeah, can we just do the bass and I count out loud and tapping so they know where they're at in the measure, and then we'll play in tandem.
Okay.
So give me the tempo that you'd like and I'll.
The same tempo. 1, 2.
Okay, here we go. One measure and we're in. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Again with the G's.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Excellent, thank you. So I think that's more definitely like a more advanced concept. And I know it's really hard to pick apart things individually when we're all playing as a section, so it's nice to take time and do that, so thank you for that demonstration. We can't leave talking about the huapango, at least at the intermediate level, without what, Santiago?
Feeling, interpretation, right? But we play a certain thing with feeling.
Yep.
It's one of our colors on our palette that we use, right? So we have an abanico, which is like a fan, right? So we have all these different strums now to play with, right? So in a huapango, we fan our hands, and on the vihuela, like I said earlier, we use all our fingers, and we're gonna use our thumb for the first time on a down strum. So we use it for ups, but on an abanico, we'll use all our fingers and we'll follow through with the front of our thumb.
Can you give a normal strum and then an abanico just to
Okay, so here's
contrast both?
normal strum, abanico. Okay, so we're gonna be utilizing that. In this song, there's actually not anything written for that. We added a section where the vihuela is gonna be doing an abanico, and the guitar will be doing the rhythm that's written.
Yeah, we're actually we'll be doing the beginner rhythm.
So this is a concept that stems back from like Maestro Rigoberto Alfaro, Chuy Hernandez that I work with. We've learned from them, and so in a lot of the old recordings, you'll hear these like polyrhythms where the vihuela might be doing one thing, the guitar will be doing something else, and we combine them. And this is an instance where we get to use that. So I'll demonstrate with Adolfo here how we play rehearsal mark number 2. We're gonna go from number 2 down to measure 20, we'll finish at measure 26. So you're gonna see both rhythms using the abanico, and we're playing a different rhythm here.
Can you just show the abanico isolated slowly?
Okay, so here's the vihuela part that's gonna happen at measure 2. So it'll be like this. 1, 2, 3, 1. And we'll have Nathan play with us now. and we'll have guitar.
One more thing before we move on to the demonstration is that when you have the abanico, you want to think also down, down. Even though it's one solid stretched out down, you want to think down, down so that we end up lining up. That's the whole point of combining rhythms, is that they're going to be interlocked rhythmically. So while go ahead and do the abanico. Down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Now the guitar is going to be doing this. Down, 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 down. Okay, let's do it together. That's a really good tempo. Let's take it there.
Rehearsal mark 2, right?
Rehearsal mark 2, correct? Up to 26, so we stop at 27. We don't go into that measure. Here we
So
go.
I encourage you to watch this and play along with us too.
Okay, so that's where we'll be. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Okay. Good. Let's play it up to tempo now, and let's do it with the interpretation. So for advanced level, there's gonna be some dynamics written in, measuring 2 measures. So each chord is gonna go from soft to loud, piano to forte. Here we go. Sing up to tempo. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Nice, nice. Okay.
So if you notice, we kind of planned that out, right, as a section. So in your own groups, you know, if you feel it a certain way, this is our suggested way, the way we would do it and the way we would perform it. But at the end of the day, it's all corazon. So, you know, we never want to play everything monotone. We don't want to go... We want to sing with the right hand. So there's a few different ways you could do it, you know. You could even add, you know, later on, you could play with it a little bit, and then we never want to be competing either with the voice or the other melodies going on either. So always be conscious of those things at an advanced level. We're interpreting, but we're not stealing the show from the front person who's singing either. So good things to keep in mind.
One thing that's going to help us develop that abanico and work technically within those constraints is going to be thinking that the abanico and the redoble in either case is going to be metronomically linked to that. So it takes up the same amount of space in the measure. And so what I'm going to do is that we're going to play the rhythm, contrasting rhythm. So he's going to play an abanico while I play a redoble, and we're going to do vice versa every measure. So you could hear that they're both lined up. So if we get really close here together, so you can maybe catch both hands simultaneously, moving the chord, we'll just be vamping on a C major, so not left hand, just right here. One measure and we're in, so you'll start with the abanico.
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Practice if you have a colleague or a fellow member of your group that you can practice along with. It does wonders. Let's do it a little bit faster. Ready? Okay, 3 and 1. 1, 2, 3. So we'll move on now just to some advanced concepts and topics that we've already been thinking about and mentioning, but now we're going to get into a little bit more detail. I want to take some time to actually give time to Maestro Adrian Perez on the harp. So he's going to talk a little bit about integrating some of what we've been using as far as harp practice.
Correct. So one of the main things, given that it's an arrangement, a lot of the harmonic parts have already been assigned essentially to the strings and to the trumpets. So one of the key considerations, I guess, when trying to improvise is not competing with their parts, right? Because technically, if you don't have a harp part, you're not really integrated into the arrangement. So if you go into my individual harp video, I kind of explain how to combine the guitarrón part and the armonia part to essentially create your own harp improvisation, kind of sheet. But that's all within the construct of making sure you're not fighting against the melodies. So I think one of the key points that you should be able to use as a basis for integrating harp into any rhythm section and mariachi is knowing what chords are being played and using that as a harmonic and rhythmic support between the two. So for example, you want to start, can we start, let's see, rehearsal mark 1.
Rehearsal mark 1?
Yeah, if we can play that up to rehearsal mark 3.
Sure.
Right before the F. Yeah.
Will you count us off and give us your time?
Right? I'll give you one measure.
Huh?
1, 2, 3. I was just playing off of what the Armonia is playing in chords, and it's an arpeggiated version, which basically means it's not a dry, chord. It sounds like an abanico in a way, right?
Can they see your hands?
No, I mean,
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a D, F, A, C, right? Yeah. So basically, essentially, I'm just filling in time. One of the key things, especially given that it's such a rhythmic song, in a basic kind of fashion, that's how it would fill in to not overpower any of the melodies that are going on or any of the vocal parts, because everybody, like I said, because it's an arrangement, everybody has assigned parts and you need to kind of follow that script. Otherwise, you're defeating the purpose of an arrangement, unless you have a hard part. One of the things, too, that I want to highlight, Nathan, if you can play with me rehearsal mark 2 to 3.
Yes.
We'll start that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So one of the things to notice, there's a B flat there, right? That technically isn't in the key. In my case, because I have levers, as you can tell here, and when I went through my video, it's not very practical to try to integrate the B flat into it because you don't have enough time to do it. So what I essentially did is I omitted those two parts. I let the guitarrón play it, and then I jumped back in on the next measure, which falls within my tuning. So those are some instances where you'll have to get creative to not, once again, compete or conflict with the music that's written, right? So you need to make sure that you're not doing things just because it seems easy. Everything has to be kind of methodically thought out, and if you're clashing with any notes or you're clashing with anything that's written, particularly in the bass, that's going to have a really negative impact into the song. Another key consideration too, my philosophy, I guess, of playing is, especially for what you would consider traditional subgenres of mariachi, which is a son, jalisciense, a ranchera, and probably a huapango. You want to follow the bass line as much as you can, which essentially means I'm playing the same thing that the guitarrón player would be playing without overpowering them, right? So if anything, it's more of a bass kind of support, and you're just rounding out the sound. You don't want, even though it's a different kind of pool than the bass. Like for example, can we try anything? Measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up to rehearsal mark 1.
Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 1. So you want to make it seem where you're a team member with the bass. You don't want to sound like you're your own instrument and you have, for example, because I have nails, the attack on the string is going to be different if you let it sound different, right? I can attack it as it sounds like there's a pick playing, or I can use more of the meat or the flesh of my finger, and it sounds more like a guitarrón, right? So at that point, we become one sound, and we're basically supporting each other in the bass line. So yeah, for me, those are some key characteristics of how you integrate a harp into a rhythm section and into an arrangement that has a lot of, intricate and pre-assigned parts.
Anything would you like to expand for the advanced levels before we play a demonstration of the song in the final 3 minutes? Any other considerations or things that you've observed that will take an intermediate player to a really advanced level, or things that you look for just as a guitarrón player yourself?
Just for a guitarrón player yourself, always if you're reading a piece like for the first time, always keep looking forward. Just be aware of what's coming up next. If it's a whole measure, if it's syncopated rhythm, just always be aware of what's coming next. With naturals, accidentals, just always be alert of what's coming next.
What about when you're performing on stage? Like if you're seeing a guitarrón player play within a mariachi ensemble, or several guitarrón players on stage, what do you listen for? What do you enjoy about if you were to hear someone perform this for you?
As a guitarrón player, just don't be afraid. Always smile. Just be confident in your playing. Look at your compañeros. Just have fun with them, and always just be aware of what's going on. Your section leader, and just have fun.
Thank you. Santiago, anything that you feel that we didn't touch on before, or like, oh, we forgot to mention this? Anything like that?
I think we covered as much as we could within the time. Like Nathan said, have fun with it. At the end of the day, we're making music. We're here to touch people's lives. It touches ours. And so we're sharing music. It's beautiful. So enjoy it. Once you're up on stage, we put in all this work at home and in our rehearsals, thinking critically, analyzing, taking things apart. But when you're on stage, we're forgetting about the black dots on the paper and all that. You're there to have fun and share your passion for mariachi with everyone.
Great, and I would just, second everything that's been said here. I don't really have much to add. So my compañeros here are the ones making me look good, and I'm very fortunate to be working alongside of them. And also just saying, the things that we've learned that we're sharing with you today, we had the chance to learn directly from the maestros, Don Rigoberto Alfaro, Jesus, Chuy Hernández. Muchos saludos, maestros. Gracias. And now we're sharing that here with you. So if anything that I can add to that would be the way we're sharing with you, one day it will be your responsibility to help teach others that. The transfers, and that's how we keep this music alive. The music will do nothing if it's just on the page by itself. It needs to be performed. And when you really think about it, if it's not being recorded, where is the music? It's only existing in that time. Or to say, even if you have a recording, is that really just the music there on the recording? Well, I have a CD, I don't need to go to the concert. There's something really special about working amongst each other, just as a section and then within a group. It's a really great blessing, in our lives to be able to take the time and to have the opportunity afforded to us to engage in music making, because we bring communities together, we bring people together, and that's really empowering. Okay, since we have so much time, let's go ahead and play through it slowly, since I know we had trouble, or we didn't really talk about like the half notes and daughter half notes. So we're gonna go really slowly. I'm gonna try to count out a little bit of the more engaged parts, so the parts that are emptier, I'm gonna count through those measures, so you'll hear me counting, and then we'll take one at full speed. So that should be about 6 minutes if we're there, okay? Here we go, really, 1, 2, and then I'll sing in. So, really slow, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. fast for you, in YouTube you can always lower the speed, reduce the speed without affecting the pitch. Let's do one at full performance tempo, okay? And that should be good. Is this good? Okay, 2 and we're in. 1, 2. Gracias. I hope to see everyone next year in person. Saludos.
Saludos.
Thank you.
Ay, amor de mis amores, te vengo a cantar mi copla. Ando llena de ilusiones y quiero besar tu boca. Quiero decirte cositas que traigo dentro del alma, pero como son bonitas, quiero decirlas con calma. Yo no sé si vengas tú, yo no sé si vaya yo, pero hasta sentir mis besos y yo he de sentir los tuyos, hemos de quedarnos presos a la luz de los cocuyos. Te quiero mirar bonita, sin penas y sin orgullos, y quiero echarme en tus brazos a la luz de los cocuyos. ¿Cuántas noches de tu vida habrás pasado conmigo, contando las estrellitas y solo Dios te testigo? Siempre con la cara al cielo, cobijados por la luz. de sentir mis besos y yo de sentir los tuyos. Hemos de quedarnos presos a la luz de los cocuyos. Te quiero mirar bonita, sin penas y sin orgullos, y quiero echarme en tus brazos